Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem, Yahshua, Bashim, Kakodash. Just gonna be really quick. Just watching this response to Deacon Hakah and Brother Hassad of Genesis. They did a whole special, a whole live pretty much on claiming that Paul taught idolatry, which I mean, when you go into the Bible, there's nowhere in Paul's writings, any of his writings, where he promoted sin or wickedness, which includes idolatry. I think this is what happens when you get to a certain point where you get into certain technicalities and things like that. But basically, when you start dealing and debating with Edomites or take on their lens and how they look at things, you can, throw doubt on the scriptures and come up with certain narratives. But it's clear as day when you read that whole, discussion or when you read the scriptures with Paul speaking on food sacrificed to idols, it's clear he's not promoting that. You know what I'm saying? And even when you take a step back and just look at the whole bigger picture, Peter, John, who else? Matthew, none of them actually wrote to the Jews about that, because the Jews at that time, or the people of the circumcision, the people, were born into Israelite customs, they were still somewhat sovereign. They had taxes on them. They paid tribute. Whenever people had to get put to death or whatever, they pretty much had to go to the Romans and get the permission. But other than that, there were no fucking, it's open that it's a temple in the land of Israel. It's a temple and they sacrificing the idols, and none of that was going on. They still had a sense of sovereignty. The Israelites outside, right? Just like, and I just watched most of this video. Elder Yashawamba did like a complete thorough breakdown of this whole situation. When you go back at that time period, it's just like how it was in America. Everywhere you go, there's Burger King. The bitch on Starbucks is literally some fucking deity. So you don't drink Starbucks? And the irony of all of this is, in 2019, I was with Deacon Hakah, Captain Tazama, I forgot his rank, but the brother Yaash. In 2019, I was with them and was standing in the audience. This was back when I think the brother Danyala Bun Yumya, I think he was still alive. He had passed away though. I was just with them in the crowd, bringing out precepts or whatever. I was never officially in Sakari like that, but you know what I'm saying? I was around them heavily, spent actual time with them from place to place, campsite to campsite, all of that. 2019, I don't know if it wasn't Halloween, but it was, and I think it might be on old Sakari videos in downtown San Diego after they finished up camp. I walked with them and we all went to this fucking Turkish, Edomite, Arab, Muslims. We went to their halal meal place. Them niggas was getting shawarmas, kebabs. When you walked in that bitch, they had the crescent moon. They literally worship Allah. And Deacon Hakah was in there eating that shit up too. I could pull up videos. You know what I'm saying? I remember this. So it's ironic that now that this you bringing out this Paul thing, but it's like, hold on. So you don't eat Starbucks, you don't eat Taco Bell, I'm hearing that you openly declared that In-N-Out Burger is a great burger. So are you contradicting yourself? When you go back and you look at this this whole situation with Paul, right? Paul is basically, he's giving real knowledge and wisdom. Because I remember when I first came into the truth, like, I had like I don't want to say a fear, but like my family, they was still keeping, to this day, they finna do Thanksgiving. And if I was in the States, I'd probably eat some of the food, but like, I'm talking about when I first came in, you niggas is going off, you wicked, blah, blah, blah. Cause it was so deep in my conscience. Like, to me, that's a real thing. They actually do Christmas, they do Halloween and shit. Like, when I first came into the truth, that was real offensive to even see that. But then as I grew, you kind of, me personally, I moved around. So I don't even see my family no more like that. I'm overseas. So like, I'm not in a position where I'm around people that still eat certain foods and still celebrate certain holidays and shit like that, where I like, it's like if you in the truth and you live with your parents, you kind of have to just deal with the fact that they doing Thanksgiving. You can't really do nothing. You see what I'm saying? But in the beginning, when I first came to the truth, it was like, like, and what Paul was basically saying is there was believers at the time who was coming into the truth, believing on Yahweh Shai, but they had a culture and had customs dealing with idols. So if they saw someone else, a believer, eating some food that was offered into an idol, that would actually offend them. Nigga, what are you doing? Like, technically, if you go to Starbucks, I can get on your ass about that. Technically. If you want to be technical. But then if that's the case, where the fuck are you going to eat? When y'all do Passover, is that lamb that y'all got, y'all bought it and y'all raised it for over a year? It was spotless and had no blemishes, no broken bones or nothing. And y'all slaughtered it the right way and prayed over it in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Did y'all do that? No, y'all didn't do that. I promise you. I promise you, y'all ain't doing that. So, I mean, from my perspective, and I know Deacon Hakar, and he's well studied in the scriptures and great debater. I'm not one who's not gonna give credit where credit is due. He's very wise to some degree. But there's also like, all right, you doing too much on this one. You doing too much, and I don't know if this is some leftover Sakari stuff of like casting doubt on the Apostle Paul. I get it. Christians do venerate the Apostle Paul. To some people, Apostle Paul is a damn idol. Like, I get it. I understand it. So when you like Christians really uplift him like that, you kind of have to tear him down and bring him back down to just a human level. I get that and I understand it. But Paul was not teaching idolatry. He was not advocating for idolatry. He literally told them to abstain from food, strangle, drinking blood. He literally told them that. So what the hell are you niggas talking about? That's crazy. And I watched Genesis video, and there was a certain caller that pretty much called it for what it is. And he kept using this term. If you pigeonhole me to just this one scripture, you had to get more context on that. Y'all literally started and stopped and ended with Paul saying, are you any better if you don't eat the food? Or are you any worse if you do eat the food? That's it. Y'all didn't read the whole thing. Man, let me get this scripture, man. And before I even turned on the video, this is the first, I opened up the Blue Letter Bible, and this is what popped up. I wasn't even, you know what I mean? And you can read the headline, a satire on idolatry. So, we all know the scripture. Let me read from verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are vain. So At the end of the day, I'm not saying, yeah, walk into a temple and you know that this is sacrifice to, you going to an atheist restaurant or something. Yeah, no, hell no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. That I'm not promoting that you do that. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why Paul dealt with this issue, because he was the apostle to the Gentiles. Peter and them, the shit that the woman, she was caught in the act of adultery, right? He that is without sin cast the first stone. They was ready. They was upholding certain laws. They wouldn't be having no temples and food sacrificed to idols being sold in the land of Israel. No. That's the reason why Paul had to deal with this issue, because this was something that Israelites born outside of Israel and scattered and grew up around, coming up in the customs of the Greeks and the other heathens. This is what that was their culture that they was born in. So he had to apply some wisdom to it. Like, look, okay, for y'all situation, that shit is all around y'all. You got adultery going on. You got even when you deal with the situation with Paul teaching them about sexual immorality, they had customs of it's okay to wife swap and shit. The same way that we had that shit. The same way that allegedly Deacon Hakal used to be a pimp. That was your culture. So if you coming up out of that shit, it's not like just, oh, I just woke up and I stopped eating pork. No. He had to apply wisdom. Like, look, some of y'all actually believed in that shit. And it probably is a burden unto you to see people eating that, or it's fucking up your conscience because you can't get any other food. You feel what I'm saying? What was they gonna do? Right now in America, right? If you can only eat food, sacrifice to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, how are you gonna do that? Are you gonna buy an animal, raise it, buy chickens and kill them yourself and sacrifice them to make sure 100% of a surety that this is sacrificed to your God? Let's be fucking for real. So Paul, he just applied wisdom. Like, look, y'all situation, this is what it is. If it's burdening you like that and it's beating down your conscience, don't eat it. If you're gonna offend somebody else, don't eat it. But at the end of the day, this is the situation y'all in. Like, y'all got this how y'all get y'all food. You feel what I'm saying? You can't verify it ain't coming from here or coming from there, whatever, right? So come on, man. This is not that hard. This is something that's very easily, like, just from the outside looking in, y'all are doing too much. Y'all are looking for shit to, like, okay, yeah, we brought this out. We the first ones to teach the doctrine that Paul was going off and teaching idolatry. What the fuck? No, he wasn't. And then even in the video, Hassad himself said no, that they don't believe Paul was teaching idolatry or maliciously. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, so what the hell are you doing for real? Like, is this just for attention? Is it just to ruffle some feathers and cause brothers to go back and forth? Yeah, well, come defend Paul. Defend Paul from what? Wasn't the Apostle Paul a Pharisee? A self-proclaimed Pharisee? Why the hell would he teach idolatry? He didn't. Now, I'm not even going to go into, any other scriptures or whatnot. Like I said, I was going to make this short. There is one last thing I want to say, though, because this is a very beautiful video that Elder Yashawamba did. My only problem is, hold on, let me get the, let me just type it in. I ain't even gonna say it. Right here. My only problem is, why did y'all go so hard? And when the Apostle Paul was speaking about, food sacrificing on idols, you brought up the history. This is what was going on in the Greco-Roman Empire, blah, 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 blah. But when it come down to the long hair situation, y'all don't want to do the same thing. You see what I'm saying? That's hypocrisy. Who was that? Elder Monoctazak about tried to get on me because I got so-called locks. So in one breath, you saying, well, food sacrificed unto an idol, if you ain't worshiping it, then you know, it's just food. Do what you can. But in another breath, you saying, all right, well, you got locks. You obviously are a Buddhist and you obviously worship Shiva. How? So if I believe in Yahweh Shem Shai, but I eat Taco Bell, I'm worshiping that deity? No. So there's some hypocrisy, and there's, you know, I left a comment on one of Elder Yashawamba's videos, and I said, hey, look, it's there's some people that come against certain camps and you know, they just leave a comment and then you go to their channel and they ain't got no videos. If I leave a comment, I say, hey, y'all going off on this, I promise you 100% I have a video on my channel explaining it, and nobody is dealing with it. Brought up Abraham and Sarah so many times. I brought up so many things. What Elder Tahar is teaching, that Mount Sinai was an actual chariot. It's not a mountain no more. Like, it's so many things that I brought out evidence and have videos on my channel saying, you know, how y'all went off, and nobody, to be honest with you, you can't go against it with the scriptures. You won't be able to prove yourself. So, but yeah, I just felt like, or I noticed how deep and thoroughly Elder Yashawamba went into this topic. But then when it comes to the long hair thing, it's like, okay, well, we don't have to know about the customs of the Corinthians and how Corinth was a Greek municipality and them growing their hair long was to sacrifice and cut it and burn it to an idol. We don't have to talk about that, right? We don't got to talk about the fact that, well, if having long hair is a sin and you wicked and you going off, well, John the Baptist is not a man of the Lord because he was a Nazarite from birth and never cut his hair. You see what I'm saying? It's hypocrisy. Come on, man. It's hypocrisy. Y'all gonna have to address this shit, because for years and years and years and years and years, y'all been saying this shit. Long hair, you got dreadlocks, you ain't making it on the chariot. You going off. You gonna eat a missile because you got long hair. Okay, well, now you got to deal with this. You see what I'm saying? Hey, Elder Yashawamba, you just made a video. Every idle word that man shall speak, you're going to have to give an account thereof in the day of judgment. I'm not even saying it like that, but I'm saying, like, all right, some of y'all's videos backfires on some of y'all's other doctrine. You just went hard and went into history and the Roman Empire at that point in time to break down and understand how the foods and how it was sacrificed and sold into shambles and this and that, and understanding the situation that the Israelites scattered were in. Why you can't do the same exact thing about the long hair of the Corinthians? Why didn't Peter and John ever have to deal with, hey, you know, you Israelites in Israel under the law, y'all going off with the long hair? He ain't never have to do that. He ain't never have to do that because they knew. So if they had long hair, it was never attached to an idol or a deity. The Israelites that were scattered had long hair and they grew it long solely just to cut it and burn it and sacrifice it to an idol. That's why Paul said we don't have those customs. If you're going deep in one topic, you gotta go deep in the other topic. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy right there, but you know, that video that he just did, breaking down and explaining how Paul did not teach and advocate for idolatry, was a very thorough and well put together video. And you don't even have to watch the whole thing. Like, I don't agree that Paul taught idolatry. Like, this is Paul. So, I mean, to me, this is Genesis just being, you know, kind of tricky you know, I don't know, skewing certain points of views and literally taking shit out of context, because y'all literally rest on like one scripture of that whole chapter and try to use it and make a doctrine that Paul taught idolatry and eat food that's offered to Satan. That's going off. That's going off, and it's just a point of contention. It's just a point to have a debate and back and forth. Okay, yeah, let's get into it. Debate me. Let's get on camera. Yeah. I mean, I know what that is. I know what that's like. I understand it. Because at the end of the day, you gotta the truth is active, so like it feels good to talk about and to defend the truth, right? But like this is a point that shouldn't be even made. This is some made up shit. Some made up shit. Paul didn't teach idolatry, and you niggas is wrong.